Piplup is admittedly very cute, but for some reason I've never really liked it much. We're rating them all, and in battle at least, it's really solid. It's well-rounded stat-wise, with special attack being its best, but with the 20 base power bubble being its only good move into the first gym, well, it will probably still solo, but it will get dicey against Granados. But overall, it's still a pretty good early game Pokemon. 3.5 stars. Thankfully, we don't have to say this much more after this one, but its availability will of course be 4.5 stars, just like every other starter, for being instantly available or not available at all. Its concept, though, is where it falls short of the others in its trio. Granted, it is at least a fun play on words, with Emperor Penguin, Piplup of course being the little chick and giving it royal inspirations. But otherwise, sadly, it's a pretty literal penguin chick. 3 stars, which by the way, ridiculous that we got Totodile instead of Piplup in Legends EA. I mean, Empoleon is based off of one of the most famous French names in history. But anyway, its design. As I said at the start, I've never been a huge fan of Piplup. However, there are a few points that even I will raise in its favor. First of which is that it is objectively adorable with the teeny little beak and flippers, but also the fact that it's the third option behind the other two incredible starters really hurts it in my eyes, and yours apparently. Most of you also prefer the other two. Then the anime really did this guy some favors, giving it so much personality to the point that it is one of the fan favorites, but sadly that just doesn't come off in the games much at all. It's cute for sure, but I don't know, it just doesn't do anything to stand out. 3.5 stars, which will land Piplup the final score of 3.625 stars overall. Prinplup is definitely not a great middle evolution. We're rating them all, and at least in battle it is pretty solid. 81 special attack is nice for the mid game, and it is decently bulky. Really the only two moves it will want to use are Bubble Beam and Brine, which are good for sure, but Metal Claw is kind of lost on its lower attack stat, and Steel doesn't really do anything offensively in Gen 4 that Water can't do better. But sadly it does have an awful matchup into the second gym, and does fine into the next 3, but not great. Regardless, it's still a fairly solid mid-game Pokemon. 3.5 stars. Its availability will be the standard 4.5 stars, only one more time to say that in this generation thankfully, and its concept is once again sadly kind of bland. The whole line is a direct play on words with Emperor Penguin, making these Pokemon into royal looking penguins, which is fine, but not very exciting. 3 stars. And I'll go out on a limb and say that Prinplup is definitely a bottom half or so water starter, but to be fair, almost all of them are not great, other than Duat and Croconaw. But anyway, Prinplup's design isn't bad, it just kind of doesn't do much of anything. Sure, it's a convincingly adolescent penguin, and its patterns look like buttons and a tailcoat. It's not a bad design by any means, but it's just really mid. I'm sorry, I just don't have much to say positively or negatively about this thing. It's just kind of there. 2.5 stars, giving Prinplup the final score of 3.375 stars, and hey, I threw together a starter bottom 5 for you. Empoleon may be the weakest link of the Sinnoh starters, but that isn't saying much since they're probably the best and most well-rounded trio. We're rating them all, and Empoleon completely saves its evolution line and fixes literally every issue they have. Its use in battle is the first example, where its prevos were just kind of run-of-the-mill decent water types at their point in the game. Empoleon is a beast who takes a huge step up, thanks mostly to its new steel typing, which gives it just an actually ridiculous amount of resistances on an already really bulky Pokemon. So on top of 111 special attack, 101 special defense, and 80s in HP and defense, you have yourself an absolute tank of a starter Pokemon. Then it also has a solid move pool of offensive options, coverage, setup, and priority. Its matchups into the gyms are admittedly not amazing, but it does make up for that by being incredible into the Sinnoh Elite 4 and Champ. 5 stars. Alright, last time we had to say this until Gen 5. Its availability is going to be the same 4.5 stars as every other starter, since it's either available immediately or not at all. It also takes a huge step up in its concept. The whole line is basically a play on words for Emperor Penguin, and Empoleon both takes that very literally as well as adding more onto it, with aspects from both Poseidon and an actual Emperor. Really, this whole trio with what they're based on could have been a legendary trio and no one would have batted an eye. But sadly, Empoleon's just isn't quite as deep or interesting as the others. It seems like it's missing something. Still awesome though, 4.5 stars. Its design though, I really have mixed feelings about. Firstly, I do think that it absolutely fixes the issues in its line, which just seem to be lacking character or something to set them apart from the pack. Where Empoleon absolutely does do that, with the beak that extends into what doubles as both a crown and a trident fit for an undersea emperor, and the giant flippers that seem to be both kind of shield-like as well as having a sharp edge, all of this topped off with the dress coat pattern on its torso. But, as both the polls and I agree on, it is the worst in its trio. Though as I said at the start, I don't think that's really all that fair, considering it's probably the best starter trio by quite a bit. And even if it isn't my favorite, I think Empoleon still deserves the 5 stars, which will land Empoleon 4.75 stars overall, tying it for the second highest starter score so far.